What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Revival. My name is JJ. How do you feel about game release delays? So I actually was thinking about this like months ago, but I was in the process of moving and stuff. So typically what I do in between, I record like 4 to 5 videos at a time. That way I just have the content and I can just edit throughout the coming weeks and stuff. And this was in between recording sessions when I was still in the process of moving. But it was right when they announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake was getting delayed. And so I was, I was a little bummed. But at the same time, I was like, I heard a lot of people like, anytime like a big release like that does get delayed, there's always like just a crazy amount of outcry from both sides of the equation. People who think it's a good thing, people who think it's a bad thing, people who don't care. I guess that's more than both sides. It's 3. But it's kind of... I do find it interesting. And I kind of was like, you know what, I'll make a video on it. Sure, why not? For me personally, I do not mind delays. I think that it's better to put out a good product that is going to take a little longer to make rather than something shoddy that you just threw together. And, you could look at, Fallout 76 as a prime example of that. And there's plenty of other games that were rushed to completion that people were like, what the heck, man? So, and I think in those moments, a lot of people who do advocate for less release delays tend to kind of see the other side of the fence at that point. They're like, oh, they should have fixed this and they should have done that. Okay, well, then they should have just delayed it. I think if it were up to me, and I granted, I don't know thing one about the video game publishing process and development process and everything behind the scenes. So I'm sure they have deadlines and I get that and everything. But if it was for me, I would treat it kind of like how I think a Kickstarter campaign should be run. So the way I've felt, and a long time ago when I first announced SoPro, on Frozen North, I talked about how I felt Kickstarter should be ran, and that was, you should already have the product, you should be ready to go into it, and you should be like, regardless of whether this Kickstarter succeeds, this is coming out, this is going to happen. Like, it should not rely on this right here. It should not rely on the income that we get from this Kickstarter, whether or not we're actually going to be able to move forward with this. It should be used as an enhancing tool, like to, make the product better, or marketing, most of all. Kind of get your name out there and really get more people involved. That way, again, you have people invested and ready to... So that's a whole nother topic. But I think you should have it ready to go before you say, hey, people, here's what we're doing, let's enhance it, and do that. I think video game releases should be, if possible, again, I don't know how it works behind the scenes, this is how I would try to do it, or something along these lines, is I would say, once the game is done and I'm in the testing phase, and I'm confident that the game is good to go, I will go ahead and announce a release date for it. That way I'm pretty darn sure I'm going to hit it. Obviously things still happen. There's not much you can do about it, but I would, and you know what, quite frankly, they may do this. I honestly don't know. But a lot of times, you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, they announced it back in 2015. Do you really need 5 years to get somebody excited for something like that? No. And I realized there were a lot of production issues and that kind of stuff like that. I hate being disappointed, and so like waiting year after year for news on the development and that kind of stuff, it got exhausting, and it was like, come on, man, give us something, you know. And I wish they hadn't announced it that early. I wish they would have just waited till they had something more. Like, I think it'd be really cool if they were like, hey, you know, we got this coming out. It'll be out in 6 months. Here's a demo. Boom, done. We're good to go. That way you got tons of people excited. You still got some time to do a little quality control and whatnot. And you've got your game coming out because it's already finished. But I think there's something to be said for making sure that you've got all your ducks in a row before you announce what you're coming out with, because then you avoid situations where it's like, you know what, like Metroid Prime 4. People have been waiting for so long for more updates on that, and the only update they've come out with is we have to start over, and it's gonna be longer than we thought. And it's like, why did you even announce it in the first place? Like, people are coming to Nintendo either way. Nobody's gonna buy a Switch that early just because they know Metroid Prime is coming, you know, 4 years down the line. Maybe somebody will, I don't know. But you have so much other stuff to tie people over and everything like that. I don't know. And I could be wrong on all this. Maybe it's unrealistic, and again, maybe it is what they already do. I honestly have no clue. So if anybody does know anything about that process, by all means, let me know down below. But I don't mind game delays if I know it's going to make the product better. I just wish that on the front end they would have approached it from a different perspective of, we're setting this release date because the game is done and we know we're going to have it out at this point. Not, we're setting this release date because that's our target goal and we want to have the game done and ready by then. So does that make sense? Like, I wish they knew for sure that it was going to be out that day and had it ready to go, rather than, oh crap, now we have to scramble because something went wrong. And, you know, because you risk having to rush things, and the whole crunch thing in development is a whole nother topic that I could get into that's really frustrating. So I don't know, there's a lot to it, a lot of facets. There's a lot to it, and I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but I'm kind of curious as to what people think. So what do you think? Are video game delays good? Are they bad? Do you agree that maybe they should have the product done and ready before they even announce a release date? That way they can just focus on cleaning it up and making sure it's polished, rather than being like, oh, we're still not done with the game, but we told them we'd have it by this date, so let's, get moving. What are your thoughts? I'm curious as to what people think, because it's something anytime a big release delay comes out, it's something I think about. But I would much rather if I had to choose with how things are now, I would much rather see a delay knowing that it's going to be a better game in the process because of that delay, rather than them being like, we'll just give you what we got. So, and that's a big reason why Nintendo does so well. I looked over there because that's where my Switch games are. But that's why Nintendo has done so well, is they really, really focus on making sure their stuff is ready before they release it. So that's, it is what it is. So let me know your thoughts. Tell me down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know the drill. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep on gaming.